Back here in the United States, Sikh communities across the country are calling for vigilance and better public understanding of their religion after 6 people were shot dead at a temple in Wisconsin on Sunday. Meanwhile, the Federal Bureau of Investigation is trying to piece together a motive for the deadly shooting. CCTV correspondent Craig Mauro has more from Oak Creek.
Police still have the crime scene cordoned off as investigators delve into the life of a man identified as the shooter who killed 6 Sikh worshippers at this Wisconsin temple before being shot to death himself. Wade Michael Page, a U.S. Army veteran and one-time truck driver, kept to himself in a nearby neighborhood where he rented an apartment.
Very standoffish. He didn't communicate well. And I'd say hi every time I get a chance, and sometimes I get a shrug or sometimes I get a hi. And that's about it.
In search of a motive, police are exploring Wade's involvement with U.S. white supremacist groups. Page sang in a neo-Nazi punk rock band and was active in online hate forums. One friend said he used to speak often of racial holy war. The suspect's estranged stepmother could offer no insight into what may have triggered the violence.
What has changed him, I have no idea, and obviously we're never going to know.
Wade allegedly shot the first Oak Creek, Wisconsin police officer he encountered at the temple. Hit at least 8 times at close range. While assisting one of the wounded, 51-year-old Brian Murphy waved off help from fellow officers, telling them to assist other victims instead. He's expected to survive. Several leaders of the Sikh community have said that they hope to use this tragedy as an opportunity to raise awareness among Americans about their religion. There's talk of holding open houses in Sikh temples across the country, as well as interfaith vigils and fundraising efforts. In the meantime, services for those who were killed here are expected to begin on Friday. Craig Mauro, CCTV, Oak Creek, Wisconsin.
Naturally, a house of worship is the last place people would expect to encounter violence, but for dozens of Sikhs in Wisconsin on Sunday, that became a reality. Despite being the 5th largest organized religion in the world with more than 30 million followers, it is a faith often misunderstood. We're joined now by Bhupinder Kaur. She's a trial attorney and an active member of the Southern California Sikh community. Thanks so much for joining us. Let me ask you about Sunday. Where were you when you heard the news, and what was your reaction?
You know, I was actually on my way to a soccer game, and when I came home from the soccer game, we have a team called the Super Six in the Pasadena League, and we were playing, and when we came home, we turned on the TV, and I mean, I just couldn't believe it, that there was a shooting at a temple.
You know, Bhupinder, I know that you're probably aware of this. I imagine some of our viewers are not. A study shows that in the months following 9/11, there were somewhere in the neighborhood of 300 hate crimes committed against Sikhs. The first homicide recorded in Arizona on September 15th. That's 4 days after 9/11. A Sikh was gunned down in Mesa, Arizona. This is a really sad chapter in America, and yet I think it's one that most Americans aren't aware of. What would you like to say about that?
You know, it's very sad, and you talk about 9/11, and that was over 10 years ago, and that was an incident, yeah, shortly after 9/11, 300 cases in for the month of September when 9/11 happened were reported by Sikhs to our organization and other Sikh organizations regarding hate crimes and so forth. And that was 11 years ago. But we think about it, what has changed since then? I don't know how much has actually changed in terms of tolerance and understanding. Just in this last year, there was an attack in Elk Grove in California where 2 elderly men were walking in their neighborhood and were shot. In Sacramento this year, there was also a hate crime committed against a taxi cab driver who wore a turban, and this is 11 years after September 11th. So I don't know if much has changed, and it's continuing. And these are just crimes that are documented or, you know, receive media coverage. But, you know, there's so many issues that the Sikhs face, and, you know, one of the reasons is because the turban is so, you know, it's an appearance that people can see and recognize. And for that reason, we face a lot of discrimination.
Well, talk to me about how the community is responding. I'm sure you must be talking to other Sikhs. Are they angry about this? Are they saddened? How would you describe it, or is it across the board?
It's across the board. We have children. We currently hold an annual camp every year here in Los Angeles, and they happen all over the country by different Sikh youth. And we're holding a camp, and our camp this year was focused on no fear. you know, you should have no fear, you know, in all things that you do in life. But at the same time, there's no hatred as well. And so we were speaking to the children about this incident, and they all have mixed feelings, and they're saying that, why are we targeted? Why do we always have to prove that we're American? And, you know, and I don't think it's about proving that you're American. I think it's everybody just needs to see that we're all human. And so there is, you know, some anger, but, you know, as our faith teaches us that, you know, you don't react with anger, and there has to be some sort of compassion and understanding within the world for us to move on from this.
Well,
and I think it's making us stronger.
Well, I was going to say, I hope that is the takeaway from all of this. Bhupinder Kaur, thanks so much for talking to us tonight from Los Angeles. We appreciate it.